Hey guys, you ever hear those stories where one night, just one, changes everything you thought you knew about your life? Well, that's exactly what happened to Camila Torres. Now, picture this. It's a warm summer night in Los Angeles. The city's glowing like it's wearing diamonds. The streets alive with music and laughter. But Camila, she's working, always working. She's 22. A college student studying design, and tonight she's waitressing at Luna Azul, one of those fancy rooftop restaurants where the wine costs more than her rent. She doesn't belong there, not really, but she's got that quiet kind of strength, the kind that makes you stop and stare without knowing why. And that night, the Cruz family was hosting a private event. Yeah, that Cruz family, the ones who own half of downtown. Real estate, media, finance. Their son, Adrian Cruz, was known in every magazine as the Ice King, a man who didn't smile, didn't date, and didn't trust women. Rumor was, his father cheated on his mother for years. And Adrian, he saw everything since then. Love wasn't just off the table, it was the enemy. So when Camila spilled a little wine on his $1,000 suit that night, you could have sworn the earth stopped spinning. "Watch where you're going," he said, voice low, eyes like steel. Camila froze. I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't mean." He looked at her, really looked, and for a second, that cold mask of his cracked. There was something about her. Something unpolished, real. A softness that didn't ask for anything. But before she could even breathe, his friends started teasing him. Loud, drunk, cruel. "Adrienne, come on! You're 35, man, still acting like a monk. Don't tell me you've never touched a woman?" He clenched his jaw, didn't say a word. Camila wanted to disappear, but one of the men, smirking, grabbed her wrist. "How about this one? She's cute. Why don't we fix your little problem tonight?" That's when Adrian's voice cut through the air like thunder. "Let her go." The entire rooftop went silent. He stood, buttoned his jacket, and looked at her again, this time not as a waitress, but as a person. "What's your name?" "Camila." "Stay," he said simply. "I want to talk." And right there, under the city lights, two broken lives collided. She told him about her life, how her mom, Rosa, worked 2 jobs and still called her a disappointment. How her brother gambled everything away. How she was just trying to graduate and escape it all. He listened, really listened. Maybe for the first time in his life. "Hey there, my wonderful family and friends. Welcome back." If you're ready to dive into today's story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're tuning in from. I love seeing where everyone's watching. And guess what? There's another amazing story coming your way tomorrow. One you definitely don't want to miss. Alright then, let's get started. Then the night blurred. One glass of wine turned into 2, and before she knew it, she was sitting beside him in the quiet of his penthouse. The city glittering far below. "I don't do this," he said softly, pouring her tea instead of wine. "I don't either," she whispered. Something about the way he looked at her, careful, like she was something fragile he didn't know how to hold, made her heart tremble. And when he brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, she forgot about the world outside. You ever feel that? That spark you can't explain? That's what happened. The Ice King melted. Just a little. But what Camila didn't know, what none of us would have known, is that one night of kindness would set off a storm that would change her life forever. Because Adrian Cruz wasn't the kind of man you could love without consequences. He didn't believe in happily ever after. He believed in control. And she, poor, sweet Camila, had just walked into his world without knowing she'd never walk out the same. What would you have done if a billionaire like Adrian suddenly noticed you? Would you stay and talk or walk away? Do you think people can really change, or are some hearts too cold to melt? Go ahead and hit that like button if you believe every story deserves to be told, and subscribe so you're here when the truth finally unfolds. You ever notice how love always starts as something small? A glance, a touch, a moment you don't even realize is changing you? That's how it was for Camila. After that night, she tried to forget him. She went back to her routine, early classes, cheap coffee, working double shifts to help her mom pay the bills. But Adrienne, he couldn't stop thinking about her. This man who had rejected every woman thrown his way suddenly found himself replaying her voice in his head. The way she said thank you. The way she didn't look at him like money. She looked at him like a person. So one morning, when Camila arrived at work, her manager pulled her aside. "There's someone here to see you." And there he was, Adrienne Cruz, in a suit that probably cost more than her college tuition, standing in that crowded restaurant like he owned the air itself. "I need an assistant," he said flatly. Camila blinked. "Excuse me, you're organized. Smart. You can start today." She laughed. "You think I can just drop everything for you?" He smiled. Barely, but it was there. "Don't make me ask twice." And that's how it began. Camila went from waiting tables to working in a skyscraper with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the whole city. She'd never seen so much glass in her life. Every morning, she brought him coffee. Every night, she stayed late. He didn't talk much. But when he did, it mattered. He started asking about her dreams, her art, her future, and the more she talked, the more he listened. But there was one thing she didn't tell him. One secret she kept locked inside. That night, the night everything changed, had consequences. Weeks had passed since she'd been with him, and when her period didn't come, she froze. She took the test alone, in her tiny bathroom, with her hands shaking. 2 pink lines. Her heart stopped. She thought of Adrienne, powerful, cold, untouchable. What would he do if he found out? Would he believe her? Or would he think she was like everyone else, chasing his money? Camila knew what her mother would say. "Abort it. You can't afford a baby. You think that man will save you?" And when Rosa did find out, it went exactly like that. "Camila, you're insane. You can't raise a child. You think he's gonna marry you? Please. Men like that don't marry girls like us." "Mom, please. No. You listen. Tomorrow, you're going to that clinic. You'll thank me later." Camila's heart shattered. She wasn't ready to be a mother, but something inside her whispered, "Don't let them take this away." She snuck out that night, tears streaming down her face, clutching her small belly like it was her only secret in the world. But fate wasn't done with her yet, because as she stepped out into the rain, her phone buzzed. "Adrienne, where are you?" She hesitated, then typed back, "We need to talk." When he arrived, soaked from the storm, she couldn't even speak. She just held out the test. He stared at it for a long time, face unreadable. Finally, he said, quietly, "Is it mine?" Camila flinched. "Of course it's yours." "Do you think I'm lying to you?" He exhaled, closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, something had changed. The Ice King was gone. "Get in the car," he said. "You're not going anywhere near that clinic." And just like that, the coldest man in Los Angeles took her hand. He didn't ask if she wanted the baby. He didn't ask if she loved him. He just took responsibility. The next morning, the entire Cruz mansion was buzzing. His mother, Doa Teresa, was crying tears of joy. "Triplets," the doctor said. "Congratulations, Mr. Cruz." "Triplets," Camila gasped. Doa Teresa laughed and hugged her. "Mija, you've broken the Cruz family curse. No Cruz man has ever had more than one heir. You're a blessing." Camila had never been hugged like that in her life. For once, she felt like she belonged somewhere. But not everyone was happy, because across town, in a glass penthouse full of envy and perfume, Luciana Herrera scrolled through social media, her wine glass trembling. "The Ice King has a woman," she whispered, "and not just any woman. A waitress, a poor, nobody from East LA. She smiled, slow and cold. "Then let's see how long she lasts. If you were Camila, would you have told Adrienne about the baby, or kept it a secret? Do you think a man like Adrienne can truly fall in love? Or is he just trying to fix what's broken inside him? If you were in their shoes right now, what would you do? Comment below. I'm curious how you'd handle it. You know how people say every girl dreams of marrying a rich man? They never tell you what happens after the dream comes true. Camila didn't plan to become the wife of Los Angeles' most powerful billionaire. It just happened. After the news of her pregnancy broke, Adrien didn't give her much of a choice. One morning, he walked into her tiny apartment with a team of lawyers, his mother and a marriage certificate. "Sign it," he said, his tone calm but absolute. "Adrienne, this is too fast," she stammered. He looked at her, eyes soft but commanding. "You're carrying my children, Camila. You'll never struggle again. I promise you that." His mother, Doa Teresa, stepped forward and smiled warmly. "Mi vida, we'll take care of you. You'll never lift a finger again." Camila glanced at the papers, the gold pen, the silk folder, and something inside her whispered, "This isn't freedom." But then she looked down at her stomach, at the tiny heartbeat inside her. 3 of them, and she signed, just like that. Camila Torres became Mrs. Camila Cruz, wife of the most untouchable man in Los Angeles. Their wedding wasn't a celebration. It was a performance, a private ceremony, no guests, just photographers and signatures. Camila wore a white dress worth more than her mother's house. Adrien didn't even blink as he slipped the ring on her finger. He was calm, polished, controlled, but later that night, when he found her sitting alone on the balcony, he said quietly, "You're scared of me, aren't you?" Camila didn't lie. "A little." He nodded. "Good. You should be. I've ruined every relationship I've ever had, but I don't want to ruin this one." And just for a moment, she saw the man beneath the armor. He wasn't cold, he was wounded. At first, the mansion felt like heaven. It had marble floors, chandeliers like frozen waterfalls, and a view that stretched to the ocean. Doa Teresa spoiled her. Every morning, she sent breakfast trays with fresh fruit and warm pan dulce. Every afternoon, she made Camila rest and talk to her belly. "Miss Angelitos," she'd say, "you have no idea how long we've waited for you." For the first time, Camila had family dinners, laughter, warmth. It was everything she'd ever wanted. Until she realized she couldn't leave, her phone was monitored. Her calls to her mom went unanswered or ignored. Adrienne insisted it was for her safety, but it didn't feel like protection. It felt like walls. She started noticing things. How the staff froze when Adrienne walked into the room, how they whispered when she passed by, how Luciana Herrera's name came up at every social event. Always in hushed tones, always with pity. One night, she overheard 2 maids talking. "La Excelsior Cruz est furiosa," one said. "Dice va destruire la señora Camila." Mr. Cruz's ex is furious. She says she'll destroy Mrs. Camila. Camila's blood ran cold. Luciana wasn't just angry, she was plotting. A week later, it began. A fake article appeared online. Camila Torres, gold digger or victim. It claimed she trapped Adrienne with pregnancy, that the triplets weren't his, that she came from a scandalous background. Camila stared at the screen in shock. Who would write this? Adrienne read it, face unreadable. Then he threw his phone across the room. "Luciana," he muttered. "Of course it's her." He called his lawyer, made threats, silenced tabloids. But the damage was done. At every gala, at every charity event, whispers followed them. "She's the waitress, right? Didn't she seduce him?" Poor Adrienne. He used to be so focused. Camila started staying home. She stopped painting, stopped smiling, stopped looking in mirrors. One night, as rain hit the glass walls of their bedroom, Adrienne walked in and found her sitting by the window, tears streaming down her face. "Camila," he whispered, "don't believe them." She looked up, broken. "I don't care what they say. I care that you don't defend me. I'm defending you every day." "No," she said softly, "you're controlling me. That's not love." Her voice trembled, but it cut deep, and for the first time, Adrienne didn't have an answer. The next morning, she disappeared. She didn't take money. She didn't take jewelry. She just left, barefoot, in a hoodie, carrying her ultrasound photo in her pocket. When Doa Teresa found out, she almost fainted. "My son, what did you do to her?" Adrienne didn't say a word. He just grabbed his keys and drove. Hours later, he found her outside a small clinic on the edge of East LA. The same one her mother had dragged her to weeks ago. Camila stood there, crying, surrounded by protesters, her hand on her stomach. Adrienne ran to her, breathless. "Camila, please." She turned to him, voice shaking. "I wasn't going to do it. I just didn't know where else to go." He pulled her close, held her face and whispered, "You always have somewhere to go. You have me." But this time, she didn't melt into him. She pulled back and said something that would change everything. "Then prove it. Not with money. Not with power. With love." And he knew she was right. Because all the mansions, all the cars, all the control, none of it could fix the emptiness he carried inside. Not until he learned how to love her freely. The next morning, something changed. Adrienne canceled meetings, turned off his phone, and sat by her bedside. He made her breakfast, burned eggs and all. He listened when she spoke, and when she laughed for the first time in weeks. He swore he'd do anything to protect that sound. But love doesn't come without enemies, because Luciana wasn't done, and neither was fate. Somewhere across town, a storm was brewing, and this time, it wasn't just about money or pride. It was about blood, betrayal, and the truth that would destroy everything Camila thought she knew about herself. Do you think love can survive when one person holds all the power? If you were Camila, living in that golden cage, would you stay, or would you run? You know that saying, you can't run from your past. Yeah, Camila learned that the hard way. For a while, things almost felt normal again. Adrienne had softened. He cooked breakfast. Badly, but it was cute. He even took her to prenatal appointments, holding her hand the whole time, terrified but pretending not to be. Doa Teresa had practically adopted her, treating her like a daughter she never had. The house started to feel like home again. Laughter in the kitchen, baby clothes piling up in the nursery. But then, one morning, Camila woke up to a headline that shattered her calm. Cruise Empire faces investigation for fraud. CEO's wife linked to scandal. Her phone blew up with calls, texts, accusations. Adrienne was already in his office when she burst through the door. "What is this?" she cried, waving the tablet. "They're saying I stole money from your charity fund." He stood by the window, jaw tight. "I know. My lawyers are handling it." "Handling it?" "Adrienne, people think I'm a criminal." He turned to her slowly, eyes colder than she'd seen in months. "Did you?" Camila froze. "What? Did you take anything? Sign anything without asking me?" Her heart cracked right down the middle. "You think I'd do that to you?" He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Camila, please. I'm just trying to protect the company." "No," she said, voice trembling. "You're protecting yourself. You still don't trust me." And that was the beginning of the end. That night, Camila sat alone in the nursery, folding baby clothes she couldn't even look at anymore. The world she'd built, fragile but beautiful, was falling apart again, and that's when her phone rang. Blocked number. "Camila Torres?" A voice said. It was a woman's voice, calm, older, with a hint of an accent. "Yes? My name isn't important, but I know who you really are." Camila froze. "What do you mean? You're not who you think you are, querida. You were adopted, stolen." Actually, her breath caught in her throat. "That's not possible. My mother, your so-called mother lied to you. I knew your real parents. They were powerful, wealthy, and they never stopped looking for you. Then the line went dead." Camila just sat there, shaking, clutching her phone. Could it be true? Could everything she believed about her life, about her family, be a lie? The next day, she drove back to East LA. For the first time since she married Adrienne, her old neighborhood looked the same. Cracked streets, stray dogs, kids playing soccer in the heat. She found her mom, Rosa, hanging laundry behind the small apartment. "Camila, why are you here?" Camila's voice was shaking. "I need to know the truth. Am I your real daughter?" Rosa's hands froze for a moment. The world went silent. Then Rosa laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "Who told you that nonsense? Just answer me." Rosa turned, eyes burning. "You're my daughter because I raised you, because I fed you when no one else would." "That's not an answer." Rosa sighed and sat down. suddenly tired. You really want to know? Fine. You're not mine. You were left at the clinic the night my real baby died. They said your family died in a car crash. I took you home because I couldn't bury another child. Camila staggered back, her heart pounding. You lied to me my whole life. I saved you, Rosa shouted. You think that rich family would have loved you more? They would have thrown you away the moment you weren't perfect. Tears streamed down Camila's face. You already did. She walked away before Rosa could say another word. When she returned home that night, Adrienne was waiting for her in the living room. He was furious. Where the hell were you? She glared back. Finding out the truth about myself. He froze. What truth? That I was never who I thought I was. That everything about my past, my family, is a lie. That you're not the only one who's been pretending. He took a step toward her. Camila, slow down. Don't tell me to calm down. She snapped. You hide behind your power, your money, your rules. But I've been hiding behind my fear. Not anymore. And with that, she turned away. But before she could reach the stairs, Doa Teresa appeared in the doorway, holding a letter. Camila, you need to see this. The envelope was old, yellowed, with a seal marked Familia Navarro. Camila opened it carefully. Inside was a faded photograph, a young couple smiling, holding a baby with a small heart-shaped birthmark on her neck. And then, her world stopped. She touched her own neck, the same mark. Adrienne's mother whispered, your father was Emilio Navarro, the richest man in Monterrey before he disappeared. You're his daughter. Camila couldn't breathe. All this time, she thought she was nobody, but she was the heir to a fortune, a legacy, one someone had stolen from her. A week later, everything exploded. The tabloids got hold of it. Billionaire's wife discovered to be missing heir of Navarro fortune. Luciana saw her chance. At a charity gala, she cornered Adrienne in front of cameras. Crocodile tears in her eyes. Adrienne, she lied to you, she said loudly. She's been using you to reclaim her family's wealth. Reporters swarmed. Flashbulbs went off. Camila, standing at the edge of the room, watched as the man she loved hesitated. For one awful second, he didn't defend her. She turned and walked out, her tears catching the light of the chandeliers as she whispered to herself, I was never enough for him, but I will be enough for me. Later that night, Adrienne finally found her, not at home, but in her studio painting. She looked up at him, eyes red but steady. You want to know who I really am? I'm Camila Navarro, the girl who lost everything twice and still got back up. He swallowed hard. Camila, I made a mistake. I should have believed you. You made a choice, she said. And so will I. He stepped closer, voice breaking. What do you want me to do? Let me go. And in that moment, the Ice King finally shattered. Because for the first time in his life, he realized love wasn't about possession. It was about letting someone choose you freely. But just as Camila was ready to walk away, fate took another cruel turn. Luciana wasn't done yet. She had paid off a contact inside the Navarro estate. Someone who forged DNA results to claim Camila was not the real daughter after all. And when the scandal broke, it destroyed everything. Camila's new family withdrew their support. The media called her a fraud, and Adrienne's company, already under investigation, collapsed under the pressure. They both lost everything. In the ruins of their old lives, something strange happened. They started over. Camila moved into a small art studio downtown. Adrienne took a job teaching finance at a community college. Yes, really. They didn't have gold or fame or servants anymore. Just each other. And somehow, for the first time, that felt like enough. But the story wasn't over, because the truth, the real truth about Camila's past, was still out there, waiting to rise. Would you forgive someone who doubted your love in front of the world? Do you think Camila should still trust Adrienne, or walk away for good? You ever feel like your whole life's been a lie, and then suddenly, the universe hands you the truth, and it's even worse? That was Camila, when the fake DNA results hit the press. It was like someone lit a match in a room full of gasoline. Every headline screamed betrayal. The fake heiress, Cruz family falls from grace, Camila Torres, from waitress to liar, and Adrienne. He went silent. No press conferences, no interviews, no public defense, just silence. That silence cut deeper than any lie ever could. Camila sat in her tiny studio, watching her world burn from a cracked phone screen. All the friends she thought she made in the high society crowd, gone. Her old friends, too afraid to reach out. Her mother, Rosa, she didn't even answer the phone. She had no one, except the babies. Their tiny kicks were the only proof that something good was still growing inside her. So she painted. She painted her pain, her past, her love, and her loss. Every canvas was a confession she couldn't say out loud. And one night, as rain battered the windows, she whispered to her unborn children, "Mommy's not giving up, no matter what they take. I'll give you everything I have left, my heart." Meanwhile, across town, Adrienne's empire was crumbling. His investors pulled out. His board turned against him. And worst of all, Luciana, oh, she was thriving. She'd been the one behind the fake DNA test, of course. She even went on TV with crocodile tears, saying, "I only wanted to protect Adrienne from people who would hurt him." The media ate it up. Adrienne watched, fists clenched, his jaw tight enough to crack bone. He knew she was lying, but he also knew he'd lost the right to fight for Camila. Because when she needed him most, he didn't stand beside her. Weeks passed. Then one morning, Doa Teresa showed up at Camila's little art studio. Her clothes were simple now. No pearls, no chauffeur. Just a mother's heart breaking. "Camila," she said softly, "my son is lost without you." Camila didn't turn around. "He should have thought about that before he doubted me," Teresa nodded, stepping closer. "You're right. But he's not the same man anymore. He sold everything, the mansion, the cars. He said if he couldn't build a world worthy of you, he didn't want one at all." Camila's brush stopped mid-stroke. Her throat tightened. But pride, oh, that old wound, held her steady. "Love doesn't fix betrayal." "Doa Teresa, no," Teresa whispered. "But forgiveness might." She set down an envelope. Inside was a document, a confession from a private investigator. Luciana Herrera, the bribes, the falsified DNA reports, the blackmail, all of it. Camila gasped, hand over her mouth. "Is this real?" Teresa nodded. "My son didn't know until yesterday. He went to confront her himself." Cut to that night. Luciana's penthouse glowed with city lights. She poured herself champagne as Adrienne stormed in, fury in his eyes. "You destroyed her," he said. She smiled. "I saved you." He threw the folder onto the table. "You forged DNA results. You paid off Rosa Morales. You even leaked false evidence about my company." Luciana didn't deny it. "Because you were mine, Adrienne. You were supposed to be mine." He stepped closer, voice shaking with disgust. "I was never yours, and you will answer for everything you've done." She laughed, but her voice trembled. "Oh, you'll go to the police? Go ahead, but you'll ruin yourself too. The headlines will destroy you both." He looked her in the eye and said quietly, "I don't care. The truth matters more than my name." And that was the first time he'd ever meant it. The next day, the story flipped again. Luciana Herrera exposed. Fraud and extortion scandal. Camila Torres vindicated. But by the time the world believed her, Camila was already in the hospital. The stress, the sleepless nights, the heartbreak. It had sent her into early labor. Adrienne rushed there like a man possessed, breaking every traffic law in Los Angeles. By the time he got to the maternity ward, she was pale and barely conscious. "Camila," he whispered, grabbing her hand. "I'm here. I swear I'm here." Her eyes fluttered open. "You came. I'll never leave again." Tears fell down his face. He kissed her forehead, her hands, her stomach. "I love you," he said, over and over, like a prayer. And then, 3 tiny cries filled the room. 3 babies. Alive, perfect, fragile. Camila laughed and sobbed all at once. Adrienne held her hand like it was the only thing tethering him to life, and in that moment, everything else, the lies, the power, the money, it didn't matter. All that mattered was that they made it through the fire. Together, But every story has one last test. As they were preparing to take the babies home, a man arrived at the hospital, old, elegant, with a familiar scar above his brow. "Are you Camila Navarro?" he asked softly. She blinked. "Yes." He smiled through tears. "Then you're my daughter." Her breath caught. "My. What?" He nodded, holding out a photograph, the same one she'd seen before, only clearer, the same birthmark, the same eyes. "I've been searching for you for 22 years, he said. "Luciana's father took you from us to destroy our family's fortune. He's the reason your mother died." The truth hit like thunder. Luciana had ruined not just Camila's love, but her entire life, and suddenly, everything made sense. The anger, the jealousy, the way she always called Camila the thief, because deep down, Luciana had known the truth all along. Camila broke down in her father's arms. For the first time, she felt the weight of every lie lift off her chest. She wasn't the imposter, she was the lost daughter, the rightful heir. When she turned to Adrienne, he was smiling through tears. "You see?" he whispered. "You were never meant to live in my world. You were meant to build your own." She shook her head. "Then let's build it together." And right there, in a hospital room that smelled like salt and hope, they started again. Months later, Camila's art was featured in a downtown gallery. Her paintings told her story, heartbreak and rebirth on every canvas. Critics called her the artist who turned pain into light. Adrienne stood quietly in the back, holding the babies, watching her glow. Doa Teresa wiped her eyes, whispering, "That girl saved us all." Camila took the microphone, smiling softly. "For a long time, I thought love was a prison, but it turns out, it's a fire. It burns you, reshapes you, and if you survive it, you shine brighter than ever." The crowd erupted into applause. And Adrienne, the man who once swore he'd never love, smiled for the first time like a man finally free. Would you forgive someone like Adrienne after all that betrayal and pain? Do you think love and truth can really survive in a world built on lies? They say time heals all wounds, but the truth, time doesn't heal anything. Love does. And for Adrienne Cruz and Camila Navarro, love had to break them first. It had been 6 months since everything changed. The headlines had faded, the rumors gone, the chaos quieted. In their place was something new. Peace. Camila and Adrienne moved into a small house by the ocean, far from the noise of the city. No bodyguards, no press, no mention gates. Just sunlight, sea air, and 3 babies who filled every corner with laughter. For the first time in years, Adrienne woke up without a schedule. No calls, no meetings, no empire to protect. Sometimes, he'd just sit on the porch with a cup of coffee, watching the sunrise as Camila painted nearby, barefoot in an old t-shirt, her hair tied up, her smile easy. That was her magic. She made ordinary moments feel like miracles. One afternoon, Doa Teresa came to visit. She sat with Camila on the porch, cradling one of the twins. "You know," she said, "I used to pray that my son would find a woman strong enough to melt the ice around his heart. I just never thought she'd come wrapped in humility instead of diamonds." Camila smiled. "I didn't melt him, Doa. He just thought on his own." Teresa laughed softly. "That's what you think, Mija. But you're the reason he changed. He loved before, but he never learned how to feel until you." Camila looked at Adrienne inside, asleep on the couch with their other 2 babies resting on his chest. She couldn't help but smile. The man who once ruled Los Angeles now looked like any other tired, happy dad, drooling on a baby blanket. And it was perfect. That night, they took a walk by the beach. The waves glowed under the moonlight, the sand cool beneath their feet. Adrienne stopped, looking out at the horizon. "You know, I used to think love made you weak." Camila glanced up at him. And now, he took her hand, fingers interlacing with hers. "Now I know love's the only thing that made me human again." She smiled. "Took you long enough to figure it out," he chuckled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I never thanked you. For what? For seeing me when I didn't deserve to be seen. For staying when I gave you every reason to leave." Camila looked at him, this man who'd gone from untouchable to undone, From cold to kind. You didn't need saving, Adrienne. You just needed someone to remind you you're worth loving. He kissed her forehead gently, whispering, "And you reminded me every day." Months passed, and Camila's art career exploded. Her story, the waitress who married a billionaire, lost everything, and found herself again, went viral, but this time, not as gossip, as inspiration. She started a foundation for young single mothers, helping them pay for school, housing, childcare, everything she once needed but never had. When reporters asked how it all began, she said simply, "Because someone once told me I didn't belong in their world, so I built my own." Then came the exhibition, her first major solo show in New York, Fire and Forgiveness. Every piece told a chapter of her life: the girl from the barrio, the night at Luna Azul, the billionaire who broke her heart, and finally, the family she built from the ashes. Adrienne walked through the gallery, quiet, awestruck. He stopped at one painting, his portrait, not as the Ice King, but as a man standing in the rain, eyes lifted toward the light. At the bottom, she'd written one line: "He didn't save me. We saved each other." He turned, tears in his eyes. Camila stood there in a crimson dress, glowing under the gallery lights. He smiled. "You always knew how to make me cry, didn't you?" She grinned. "Consider it payback," they laughed, soft and easy. The kind of laughter that comes when you've survived the worst and still found joy. Later that night, as the crowd thinned, Camila stood by the window, looking down at the city. Adrienne wrapped his arms around her from behind, chin resting on her shoulder. "You know," he whispered, "for a man who swore he'd never love, I think I ended up doing it pretty well." She turned to face him, smiling. "No, Cario, you ended up doing it beautifully." They kissed, slow, tender, real, as flashbulbs sparked outside the glass, trying to capture the fairy tale, but the real story wasn't the glamour. It was the two people who'd fought their demons and found peace. Years later, the twins were in school, and the youngest, little Matteo, had inherited his mother's eyes and his father's stubbornness. The house by the ocean was filled with noise and chaos and love. One evening, Camila sat on the porch, sketching while the kids played. Adrienne came up behind her, grinning. "Still painting me, huh?" She looked up. "Always. You're my favorite subject," he laughed. "And you're mine." She rolled her eyes. Smooth, Sir Cruz, but he was serious. He knelt beside her and said softly, "You're my beginning and my ending, Camila. Everything in between." That was just noise. Her eyes filled with tears. "After everything we've been through, you still get sappy." He smiled. "After everything, I finally can." They sat there in silence, watching the sunset paint the sky gold and rose, the same colors as her first painting, the one he'd bought anonymously years ago, before he even knew her name. Funny how life circles back like that, and in that quiet, Camila thought about all the women out there like her, the dreamers, the broken, the ones told they'd never be enough. She wished she could tell them this. You are not where you come from. You are not what they say you are. You are what you survive, and who you choose to become after. Because love isn't about saving someone. It's about seeing them, every scar, every flaw, and still choosing to stay. So yeah, maybe Adrienne Cruz once swore he'd never love. Maybe Camila Navarro once thought she'd never be more than a waitress. But life had other plans, because in the end, love doesn't ask if you're ready. It just shows up, wrecks your walls, and dares you to start again. And if you're lucky, really lucky, you find someone who looks at your broken pieces and says, "Let's make something beautiful out of this." Do you believe people can really change when they find true love? Would you take the risk of loving again after everything Camila went through? And tell me, what does your version of forgiveness look like?
Thank you for watching all the way through. If this story moved you, the next one will surprise you in ways you won't expect. Go ahead and click the video on your screen. Your next story awaits.